Hey everybody, this is Roy Bandari with TalkCondo.com, and today we are joined by the one and only Jason Lamb, VP Sales and Marketing of CentreCourt Developments. And today we're here to introduce Prime Condominiums at Jarvis and Dundas. So
Again,
for the second time.
this is the second time we've shot this in 2.5 years.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we get to Prime.
Right.
Jason, first of all, thanks for your time. We know it's a crazy time right now in the market. I want to start, before we talk about Prime, a few months ago, around November, December, when the market was not quite as hot as it is today,
Right.
You looked at all of us and said a pretty bold statement that has sort of rippled through the market. But you said 2021 would be the year of the condo.
Yeah.
You said it very confidently. You had a lot of stats to back that up. So I want you to go through, as we sort of are now in 2021, and we are seeing sort of this play out in real time, and we're seeing condo launches sell out again like they were a year ago. So talk to us a little bit about how you came to that conclusion and where we're at now.
Okay, well, I thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone tuning in. We were very confident in saying that 2021 was the year of the condo. And it wasn't one of those things where it was rocket science. It was quite clear. And I think a part of that is our bullish nature to look at the real estate market as a whole. Market drivers in terms of limited supply, massive immigration numbers, limited infrastructure when it comes to public transportation for the downtown core, employment. There's just a lot of reasons, low interest rates. But it doesn't start with condos, right? It's such a ripple effect, as you mentioned. And I'm going to talk about a theme about seeing it happens before it happens in relation to Prime in particular. Yeah. So remind me about that. But the first is that, the price of low rise, and again, I'm sure a lot of you are kind of beating a dead horse here, but the price of low rise was just skyrocketing, even more aggressively so than 2017 with no regulations, right? Lower interest rates, more buying power, people are spending less, yeah. Right? They're working from home. And so you start to see this massive appreciation month over month, day over day, hour over hour across the GTA, not centralized to just downtown Toronto. It was far-reaching through GTA and beyond. And so when the prices outside of the GTA really pick up, really get expensive and almost catch up to the downtown core, the writing's on the wall, right? It makes Toronto as a whole look like value. Yeah. And it goes back and forth across all the low-rise markets, and where condos in the resale market were kind of static. And I think it all comes down to the fundamentals of buying real estate is at some point people are priced out. Yeah. And what happens when they get priced out? They look at the alternative option. And then suddenly it's like, oh, downtown's really cool. Like, why did I forget all the merits of downtown living or condo living? Forget about downtown living as the most affordable asset. It's very low maintenance, right? And it fits my profile. So the writing was on the wall that prices didn't look like they were going anywhere in terms of low rise. They were only going to go up, which meant that the condominium sector was going to draft off of that. And that's not just sort of figuring that out overnight. I think you've seen that over the course of our last 10, 20 years of how the market behaves.
We always talk about this idea of the pendulum swinging,
yes.
Right? So low rise goes up while condo is flat, and then that will go flat, and then condos will go up. So we see this pendulum swinging. We've seen the pendulum on the low rise, so it's only natural to believe that that pendulum is going to swing back to condo, and we're seeing it play out in real time.
And people's nature is to be a lot more conservative. So even though that data is there, and the logical answer is what we're seeing today, they're still going to second guess it, and the media doesn't help because we've been in a bubble for the last 15 years, and so going back to the year of the condo. Coming out the gate, as you mentioned, there's been so much pent-up demand. You got to remember, we had, 3 or 4 really solid months, from April to December, where things were sort of picking back up. We launched 199 Church in July, and there was a host of launches, and then it kind of died off again. Yeah. So there's a bunch of people making money. There's a bunch of people wanting to deploy capital. They're looking at inflation. They're looking at maybe some demonetization. So they're like, ooh, like I should buy a hard asset.
Yeah, that idea that the value of cash is decreasing.
Yes.
So owning asset.
And those people aren't thinking, I want to go buy a detached home. Yeah. they're a completely different market from the guys that want to buy a townhouse, semi-detached, detached home to live. That's a completely different equation. That's a different motivation. That's a different ballgame altogether, right? You've got a much larger demographic of individuals that have disposable income, don't know what to do with it, and are looking at the real estate market as a place to, to invest their capital. And I think coming into 2021, sorry, I know this is running long, but what happened, right? You saw a host of launches come and absorption and people's excitement. And the media is starting to play the right narrative, which is, wow, the market's actually far more robust than they were projecting. And it was always better than what they were thinking it was going to be throughout the entire pandemic. And now you're seeing it firsthand. You're seeing month over month, resale, condominium appreciation. You're seeing rental numbers pick up slowly but surely. A volume of rentals are picking up. I can't tell you how many people that I've spoke to, realtors such as yourself, that are saying, I just rented to someone that just landed in the country a week ago in the downtown core. And they wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Like, they don't know where else to go. What are they prioritizing? Public transportation, close to work, close to the amenities, close to lifestyle. So again, a lot of the writing was already on the wall. The information was already there, and we were just there to bring it to light. And I think we're really just starting to scratch the surface on the year of the condo.
Yeah, I completely agree. We wake up daily and look at resales in the condominium market, and every day we're blown away by some new record that's been set. Month over month growth. We're seeing within the same building, the same unit selling last month and selling this month on a few different floors, and the price growths are incredible. We just saw a one bedroom in King West sell for over $1 million. So these things blow us away right now, every single day. And like Lee said, I think we're just scratching the surface. Months of inventory is way down. Multiple offers are way up. So we're seeing people come back into the city in a big way. And like you said, I think it's only up from here. One other quick thing I wanted to very quickly touch on is CentreCourt were in a very, very unique situation in that you guys launched a condominium just before the pandemic began. 55
Mercer.
You launched one sort of in the middle of the pandemic.
199 Church.
And then you launched one sort of just as at the end as we're coming out with the vaccines, and we've been able to sort of track in real time the heat of the market based on how quickly a CentreCourt project is selling out. So why don't you give us a quick overview of that? Because I think it's a really interesting take.
So I think they declared COVID as a global pandemic from the World Health Organization. I want to say it was March 15th.
Yeah, it was at March 11th, March 15th.
So we launched 55 Mercer right beside Nobu, the old Gretzky site, in February of 2020. The market at the time was absolutely lights out. It was white hot, very reminiscent of 2017. And if there was no COVID, I was sort of on the verge of predicting they're going to create more, more bylaws, more policies to shut us down because it was getting so out of control. So it's funny that it still kind of happened despite the global pandemic, especially in the low-rise market. But we sold out a building of 543 units within, I would say, less than 10 days. And that was just unprecedented demand. And I think downtown, the story of tech, the story of employment, the story of convenience. Again, a lot of the themes that we talk about today, in terms of downtown locations, they really, struck a chord. And we had way more demand than supply. 6 months later, or 4 or 5 months later, we launched 199 Church. A couple of sites sort of led the way and gave us some good indication that there was enough depth. And remember, there's months and months of inactivity, months and months of no supply, and months of people, saving cash because they're not able to travel or go out for dinner or anything like that. But they were thinking longer term. A lot of people were now concerned and thinking, I gotta create a nest egg in some way or diversify. We launched 199 Church. Within about 30 days, we were 75% sold. So effectively, within 30 days, we were in a very comfortable position. But as you know, at CentreCourt, always continuing trying to push to the very last unit, and we're actually fully sold out now. And that took us 30 days. Lo and behold, 6 months later, 7 months later, we're in January, February, kind of feeling the market out, and we release 8 Wellesley, 600 units.
Yep.
And I think to anyone's expectation is that we knew we were going to do well, but I think at that extent and that much demand and that much energy, really blew the entire market away. It led to a lot of developers to push their launches forward. It led a lot of people to come to market without marketing because there was just such a clear indicator that the market was maybe not back, but really, really strong. Because it's hard to say what back means.
Yeah.
And so, 55 Mercer sold out in 10 days. 109 Church substantially sold in 30, and 8 Wellesley sold out in less than 10 days. More unit counts, more expensive product. I think that tells you that the market for downtown product is has far greater depth than a lot of people are speculating or even think.
Awesome. So, 2021, year of the condo. Based on what we've seen so far, that looks like a very, very accurate prediction, and I think we'll remember December 2020 when you said that for a long time.
I hope so, and I think it's not about being right. It's about sharing the information that leads to this analysis and to that conclusion, and we can all take it and use it to our advantage, right?
Awesome. So let's shift to East Downtown.
Yeah.
This is the location of Prime Condos.
Yes.
You joke that this is the second time we've sat here. Prime Condos has been probably the most marketed project in the history of Toronto. Because
longest running marketing campaign in the history.
The initial launch was 3 years ago, but because of city delays, the CentreCourt don't launch a project without full approval, and I think that speaks to the builder as well.
Right.
We are launching now in the next few weeks.
Yes, we are.
And it's another neighborhood that, number one, CentreCourt are very familiar with.
Yeah.
A lot of product in this neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that CentreCourt are very bullish on. A lot of reasons to be bullish, and we're going to talk about those reasons. And just the building as a whole, it's a stunning building.
Yeah.
So I want us to talk about Downtown East at the beginning. We've talked about this idea of following the smart money.
Yeah.
So give us a rundown on what that means and why you believe the smart money is on East Toronto.
Well, there's two
East
parts. There's two parts. The first is the natural inclination of Yonge Street's the center of Toronto, and it drives public transportation, retail, a lot of employment, institutions. People gravitate towards Yonge. So when you look sort of west of Yonge, you've got these monster players, right? You've got Bay Street, University, Spadina, and a lot of institutions are tied to that, and expensive real estate as a whole. And then so in the same fashion, when you look east, there's a discount there.
Yeah.
But the growth potential is almost like it has been barely scratched. And so that's where you're sort of following the smart money is how many developers have gone east of Yonge? The who's who of developer royalty are developing, want to develop, or have already developed on Church, on Jarvis, on Sherbourne, in Regent Park. So it's natural, they're smart and they've got money, just following that smart money. And so there's that first step. The second step is because of all these developments that are underway, the social condos that we sold together in 2017, Menkes, and there's a number of developers that have developed the East, including ourselves. They're paving the way for the transformation of when a prime finishes. Yeah. Right? They're setting the right footing. They're putting together the right environment of density, which is going to change what? Retail, lifestyle, employment opportunities. You're seeing the financial district go east because they've got nowhere else to go. So the growth in the east is one of those things where, and this is what I was saying earlier, remind me, is you can be one of two people. You can be the person that drives by 5 years later and says, wow, I didn't see this coming. How did this happen? Or you can be someone that understands everything we're saying and say, I saw that coming. I'm going to capitalize on that because there's no other answer. Yeah. You can be the person that's watching and just kind of holding up, or you can be the guy that understands that. And we've seen it time and time and time again, Transit City 1, 2, 3, and then it ballooned into all these other developments. And you can look at Regent Park, the first building that they launched, and they tell you there's going to be 20 more buildings. And then the person says, 5 years later, it's like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Like, how did this happen? So, again, for the viewers that are watching, don't sit on the sidelines. We're here to tell you exactly what's going to happen. You can capitalize on that, or you can just continue to just wait it out and act surprised every 5 years.
I love it. Another thing that is the infrastructure that's growing on the east side. We know about the Ontario line is now proposed.
Big point.
So Jarvis and Dundas.
Yep.
You're going to be a block to the south will be the Ontario line.
Yes.
Block to the west will be the Yonge Lung line. So you're in a really great location for transit. You're very serviced by transit.
That's right.
You're close to the financial district.
Very much so.
Bay and Adelaide, Jarvis and Dundas. It's a walk to the financial district.
Yes.
So it's a fantastic location. And we talk about these institutions that are surrounding the site. None bigger than Ryerson University, which is
The biggest.
Yep.
We love talking about Ryerson because they've transformed over the years, right? They've really evolved. They've really taken themselves from a Rye High to a massive institution that I think they have the highest enrollment rate in Canada. And they're growing at such a rapid rate from a student population perspective. So they're very well respected, and they're actually adapting. Like they're such big parts of the tech world, right? The digital media zone is the #1 backed business incubator in the world. It's the place to be to find the next Google, Samsung, Apple. They get so much funding, and the amount of it's just so world renowned. The prestige that's associated with it. It's natural that Toronto's experiencing that tech boom over and over again. And the funny thing is, in a pandemic, tech is everything really, and for the most part. But it's the student population, it's the insurance policy, it's the fact that from day one of closing, you've got access to over 40,000 highly qualified students where their parents pay their rent, their parents pay their tuition, and it's constantly regenerating. And we talk about public transportation as such a big part, but the beauty is that, if you really boil it down, the fact is, you don't even need it, right? Like that's how kooky it is. It's that you can jump on the subway and go kind of anywhere in the city within a 10-minute walk. But the beauty is that you can just kind of walk to in certain communities that's all you've got. I'm going to jump on the subway and then I got to go to work. In this environment, you can walk to work, you can walk to school, you can walk to Yonge Street, you can walk to, and pretty much within 15 minutes you can walk it, anywhere in the heart of the downtown core. So it's just one of those, it's just checks off all the boxes, and the location itself is it's on such a massive growth trajectory that if you see it, it couldn't be more obvious.
So let's talk about Prime Condominiums, located at Jarvis and Dundas. Give us sort of the bird's eye view on what to expect with Prime.
Prime is 319 or 321 Jarvis, and it's just north of Jarvis and Dundas, literally just north of Grid Condos. So we're not, we're very familiar with the area. It's actually our 6th building in the East Downtown core. So again, that's one of the reasons we keep going back, because we understand the value. We keep going back because we see the vision, and we keep going back because we want to continue to be a part of the growth and the change and the revitalization of this community, and it's growing at such a rapid rate. But where we've got Prime is it's a 45-story building. We've got 595 suites, so it's a big building. But I think you saw them yourselves. The floor plans are, and I hate to be just someone that always
says it. The floor plans are really great.
They're really good.
Really, really good.
They're
almost too efficient.
They're almost too efficient. If you're an investor, this is the product. First-time investors, seasoned investors, this is the place to be. This is the product to buy in today's current environment. Because of the efficiency, like you don't bang out buildings like this, right? The next building is going to be bigger product, naturally, because this is just an anomaly. But you'll never see end pricing like this, right?
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. The end pricing here is remarkable.
Yeah.
So give us the studio one bed,
It's going to be deadly. Our studios are going to be in the sort of the mid to high 400,000s. Our junior 1-bedroom is going to be in the, call it the mid 5s. Our 1-bedrooms are in the 6s. So, let's just say mid 6s to be, because it's CentreCourt. Mid 6s for 1-bedroom product. The 1+10s, there's a variety of 1+10s with 1 bathroom and 2 bathrooms. We're seeing that shift into the 2-bathroom world. But it's funny, we're seeing a lot, like people coming back to that sort of, 1+10, 1 bath. Roommate, with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you don't need 2 bathrooms in every situation. You want to maximize the floor plans. And those will be in the 7s. And then our corner 2-bedrooms will be in the 7s and the 8s. So,
which is amazing. Like most of the product basically is within that 800,000
sub. Like I think our average price is $699, and
which is again,
I think the average price of most 905 sites are $699, $650. So if you can buy something downtown for the same price, you're going to get smaller spaces. But think about who's going to rent. Think about the long-term effects of how it's going to perform on resale. Like we just talked about before we started this is we probably banged off 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 905 launches. 0 416.
Yeah.
It's going to be a continuing trend.
Just to sort of hammer on that, what you're basically saying is over the last 12 months, we've been starved of downtown condominium launches. And just as a knock-on effect of that, what we're seeing in the real world is now that 8 Wellesley is sold out, a lot of our buyers are saying, what else is there downtown? And we look around on the pre-construction market, there's not very much to pick and choose from. Where there's a handful of sites with a little bit of inventory, but it is pretty slim pickings out there for a good downtown launch. So what you're saying is we've seen a lot of launches in the outsides, but we are starved for launches in the core. So
yeah, and not just that, you're seeing really great, healthy, strong price appreciation on the outside. And so when you're hitting these numbers, I think when you look at downtown, you're like, well, they're not very far off. Where would I rather be? Where is my potential? And so I think you're seeing that value take place in the core. And you're right, there's not much product. And for many years, you're going to see tons of 905. Master plan after mega project after 905. But you're going to see fewer and fewer 416 naturally just because it's so much more challenging. Like Prime, we were supposed to launch 3 years ago. We had to go through the zoning process. These take years. This will be year 4. Then we got to build for 3 years. So 7 years just to bring this idea to life, right? So these don't happen overnight.
Awesome. Again, you mentioned it's fully approved. I want to really emphasize that it's more important than ever to be buying a fully approved site. And I think it speaks to CentreCourt that we could have launched this years ago.
We could have.
And many developers would have launched in that situation and got the approvals later. It's quite normal. But CentreCourt will only bring fully approved sites to the market, which is really, really important. Again, I cannot emphasize how much that speaks to CentreCourt as a builder.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of the things I want to talk about with Prime is, number one is the views. It's in a really unique vantage point, and the views pretty much all the way around are pretty spectacular.
Very much so.
We've got some view shots which we'll overlay on the video, but north towards Yorkville and towards
just sprawling,
wide open to the east.
Wide open. I think there's no view at any point that's blocked, and I think that sort of speaks to being downtown and having those spectacular views are highly coveted.
Yeah.
Like when we go through these sales launches, people are just so emotional about it, and there's so much value in it. But you're going to be able to see the water. You're going to see the downtown core. You're going to see Yorkville North. You're going to see. You can see Scarborough. You can literally see as far as your eye can hit. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Amenities.
Amenities are great. I think the floor plans, the location of the amenities all tie together to the general demographic, which is young professionals that are, just really have no time, and the students, Ryerson, and a lot of parents that are buying for their kids to live downtown, that are sort of ballparking that today. So the amenities are perfect. We always believe in maximizing our spaces. Instead of doing these small kitschy little amenities of a music room that 2 people are going to use, and so for us it's prioritized who's going to live there and what's important. So we've got a 6,500 square foot gym. Yep. So again, we're always our style is massive gyms, massive co-working spaces, and entertainment areas, and a really elegant, high class, dynamic lobby.
Yep, always. I think one of the things I would point out with CentreCourt is that demographic that you mentioned, the young professional who has no time. You guys have built for this demographic so many times.
Yes.
Index, Grid, Axis. There's so many buildings that you guys have built for this demographic. Yeah. Number one, why is that important? Number one is we know what they want. You've seen it in real time. You've been able to adjust based on what gets used and what doesn't, so we can focus on the items that really get used and really make sure that they're top class. Number two is that we see how these perform in the resale market and the rental market. We see high resale values on these buildings. We see high rental rates on these buildings.
Yeah.
So when we're so used to working with that demographic. We know what they want. We can keep building to that. So I think that's an important point to note.
Yeah, and it's such a big pool. Like
Yeah.
you really can't even satisfy Ryerson. You couldn't satisfy the young professionals in the city that are looking for efficiencies. But the one thing you said that really resonated with me, and it's very true, is that generally speaking, CentreCourt buildings perform really
Yes.
well.
Yes,
Once they settle in, because we go final closing in one day, once they settle in, they kill it on price per square foot, rental per square foot. It's the efficiencies of the product that really set it apart.
For sure. I'm going to try and wrap this up. What did we wrap up everything we talked about? So we started by talking about how you predicted that 2021 would be the year of the condo. So far looking good. We talked about this idea that the marketplace is now seeing demand levels that are similar to pre-pandemic time,
Yes.
especially in the downtown core. We're seeing a real thirst for condominiums again. We talked about this location, Jarvis and Dundas being following the smart money. We've
Yes.
got an incredible amount of infrastructure around us. Some amazing institutions like Ryerson University is one of our favorite ones we like to talk about, but there's so much more.
So much more.
We talked about Prime Condos, 45-story building with some of the best floor plans you'll see in any building downtown.
Absolutely.
Amazing amenities that really speak to this demographic, and views all the way around. So
Fully zoned.
fully zoned. Is there anything I missed about
Look,
Prime Condos?
I think maybe the last thing is developer brand, right? I think
Developer brand, of
when you're
course.
aligned, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a number of developers out there, and some great ones for sure. But when you are going to be investing in something, if you're going to park your hard-earned money with a developer, track record is paramount. Ability to execute, the ability to identify, and it's not even just building a building. It's what are we building? What kind of floor plans are we building? What is who's the audience we're catering to? What are the areas that we like to pick and choose? We're very selective, and when you align with us, from yourself to your purchasers, I want to believe, and I do believe that we put together a great product that speaks to our purchasers, what they want, and to great outcomes mostly. So I think the CentreCourt brand really does go a long way, and it's going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to improve, and we're only going to get better.
I believe it. CentreCourt, obviously, in the last 10 years, have been one of the most dominant new condo developers. We've been big supporters of CentreCourt for many, many years, and we cannot recommend CentreCourt enough. So, Jason, thank you very, very much for your time. If our clients are interested in investing in prime condominiums, what do they got to do?
They're going to call Roy Bandari and Amit Badari from Talk Condos, and you're going to talk condos with Talk Condo.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jason.